Welcome, everyone. So, if you're a Spanish speaker who's been working really hard on mastering your English, I bet you've hit that incredibly frustrating wall. You know the one? Is where you feel like you understand everything perfectly, but when you actually open your mouth to speak, you end up sounding, well, kind of like a robotic textbook. You're grammatically correct, sure, but the sentences just don't flow like a native speaker. Well, let's dive right into this explainer, because today we are going to unlock a massive secret to sounding natural, casual, and fluent using two really incredible everyday tools, ellipsis and substitution. Think about a completely typical conversation. Something like, have you been to Taco Heaven? No. Have you been there? Now look, that is 100% grammatically correct, but honestly, it's incredibly clunky to say out loud. You see, native English speakers are brilliantly, efficiently lazy. We literally hate repeating words if we don't absolutely have to. Instead, we just say, have you been to Taco Heaven? No, have you? Just by chopping off those unnecessary repeated words, you instantly sound native. And that right there brings us to our very first major conversational tool. We call this situational ellipsis. It's basically just the act of leaving words out, usually things like pronouns and auxiliary verbs when we're speaking informally. The main goal here, to shorten up our casual conversations and, most importantly, completely avoid repeating what the other person just said to us. When the context is perfectly clear to everybody in the room, we just drop the obvious words. That way, we don't sound like a parrot echoing our conversation partner.
Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world. If someone asks you, "Can you help me?" the strict, formal response would be, "Sorry, I can't help you now." Again, it's just way too robotic. But what if we completely drop that repeated verb phrase, help you? It simply becomes, sorry, I can't now. Hear how much smoother that is? You just put a little bit of stress on the words can't and now, and dropping that repetitive phrase instantly makes your response sound wonderfully casual.
Okay, but what happens when you can't just delete words? Sometimes if you just leave a total blank space, it completely confuses the listener because the whole grammatical structure of the sentence falls apart. And that is exactly where our second major tool comes in, substitution. This is the act of replacing entire phrases to avoid repetition. It's the perfect antidote when dropping words isn't an option. Instead of cutting the phrase completely out, we use these tiny, powerful placeholder words to keep the sentence structurally sound, but just much, much shorter.
For example, instead of repeating a phrase like my phone, we just substitute it with the word it. Instead of saying to the new Italian restaurant all over again, we just say there. What about an entire complex idea like school was canceled today? That simply becomes the word that. And specific plural nouns like the banana ones shrink right down to those. These little words are basically elegant shortcuts that are going to save you so much time and breath in your everyday conversations.
Now, let's take substitution to the next level with conditional phrases. Imagine someone asks you, does Pete want to come along on the hike? And you reply, if he does want to come along, have him call me. Wow, that is so long and painful to say, but listen to this amazing shortcut instead. If so, have him call me. That vital phrase, if so, gracefully replaces that entire heavily repetitive positive condition. It instantly tells the listener, hey, if the thing I just asked is true, then do this. Honestly, it's an absolute game changer for sounding native.
And on the flip side, what if we're dealing with a negative condition? Think about this one. The book should be on the kitchen table. If the book isn't on the kitchen table, then I don't know where it is. To stop yourself from sounding like a broken record, just use the simpler version. If not, then I don't know where it is. The phrase if not acts as the absolute perfect shortcut here. I mean, you were literally replacing 8 clunky words with just 2. How cool is that? All right, so we've covered the core theory, but to really make this grammar stick in your brain, you actually have to use it. So let's shift the energy a bit. It's time to put this to the test. We are going to do a rapid-fire fill-in-the-blank game. Let's see if you can guess the correct substitution word before I reveal it. Are you ready? Let's get into it.
Here's your very first challenge. Listen to this painfully repetitive question. Where is my laptop? Have you seen my laptop? How do we fix this? What single word replaces that specific noun phrase at the end? Have you seen blank? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Lock in your answer right now.
Did you say it? Because if you did, excellent job. Have you seen it? Perfectly replaces the specific noun phrase, my laptop. Just by making that one simple swap, you are already sounding 100% more natural. Let's move right along to the next one, and this one focuses on a conditional. There should be some food in the fridge. If there isn't any food in the fridge, just order some pizza.
Think back to the if-s shortcuts we just learned a couple of minutes ago specifically for negative conditions. What goes in the blank here? Blank, just order some pizza. Go ahead, shout out your answer.
Yep, the answer is if not. If not, just order some pizza. Listen to how much smoother and more genuinely native that sounds compared to the original clunky version. We bypassed repeating that entire negative clause using just 2 tiny words. Really great work.
You're doing fantastic. Let's hit the third puzzle. Grace already fed the cat, but I didn't know Grace fed the cat. How exactly do you replace an entire previously stated fact like that? But I didn't know blank. What's the magic substitution word we need here? Take a moment and decide. The correct substitution is that. But I didn't know that. The word that acts as a truly fantastic catch-all substitute for whole ideas, facts, or events that were just mentioned in the conversation. It instantly streamlines your storytelling without losing even a drop of context. Okay, let's keep this momentum going strong. Number 4. Naya moved to a new house, but have never been to her new house. I'll give you a quick hint for this one. It has specifically to do with replacing a physical location. But I've never been blank. Got your guess ready? And it is there, but I've never been there. Notice how easily the word there completely swaps out that whole prepositional phrase about the physical house. It avoids the awkward repetition, while keeping the exact same meaning perfectly intact.
All right, here is the final, slightly trickier challenge to really test your new skills. If Nikhil can assist with the report, he'll be available to assist. We need to replace a verb action phrase here, not just a noun or a place. He'll be available to blank. Go ahead and lock in your final guess right now.
Okay, this one was definitely a bit advanced. The correct answer is do so. He'll be available to do so. Using do so is a brilliant, highly native way to replace an entire verb phrase. If you got that right, or honestly, even if you just played along with us today, huge congratulations. You just successfully completed this interactive practice and took a massive step toward genuine English fluency.
So the overarching takeaway from all of this today is that sometimes sounding like a true native isn't about all the extra vocabulary words you add, but rather the words you purposefully leave out. Which kind of makes you wonder, what other crazy conversational shortcuts are you completely missing out on? To keep mastering your English fluency and bridging that gap between reading a textbook and having a real-world conversation, you absolutely need to subscribe to the American English Academy channel right now. Keep practicing, keep speaking naturally, and I will see you in the next explainer.